Hello everyone, my name is Kaylee Andrus with the AVCA, and I would like to welcome you to our final webinar in the 2011 AVCA Fall Webinar Series. Today's webinar is presented by Karch Karai, Assistant Volleyball Coach for the U.S. Women's National Team, and is entitled Teaching Your Players to Read. Following Karch's presentation, I will facilitate a question and answer session. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please type them in the questions box at the bottom of your control panel, and then I will read them aloud for Karch to answer. Also, today's webinar is being recorded. All registrants will receive an email, including the recording, within 72 hours after this webinar has ended. So now I will turn it over to Karch, and we'll get started.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's see. I'm getting all right. Hopefully my screen is showing. And thank you for joining me today. I'm looking forward to hearing some feedback. So as a quick preface, I should say I love sitting in on things like this, either as a presenter side or on the other side, and I feel like I learn a lot too. So please send me any feedback you have at karch.kirai@usav.org. Love to hear your ideas or amplifications or disagreements and all of that stuff. Just to throw it out there, I try to preface all presentations like this by saying I'm not here to tell you what to do. I am here to tell you what we do in the USA Women's National Team gym and why we do it and why it fits our principles. We work by a series of coaching principles. I'm expecting that you all do too. And I want you to decide for yourself if it fits your principles. Of course, it's your gym and you're the boss, and fits your logic. And don't just do it because any particular coach says it's the right thing to do. It should fit all your logic, and we just don't want to get into a 4-year cycle where every time the national team staff changes, a lot of people are changing too because they feel like they have to do it the, quote, national team way. All right, so some of our guiding principles, just as further background, is of course that we want our players, our athletes, to be able to repeat their actions over and over, not just 9 out of 10, but 99 out of 100 or 990 something out of 1,000. We also want them to be able to, when they pass a ball or set a ball, have it fall within a smaller area, reduce the variance. We want to be able to manage risk. So if I get a poor set, I need to make a good decision and just hit the ball in the court and not try to make something out of nothing. And, of course, we are trying to keep things as simple as possible in an effort to try to increase those other things, the repeatability and reduce the variance and so forth. So what is reading? In our gym, we call it the premier skill in the game, the ability to, I guess you would, some other words for it are anticipation, judgment, reading, volleyball IQ is a term that people use a lot, savvy, cage. Ultimately, it's perceptual expertise, the ability to see and recognize patterns in real time as plays are developing. Not unlike a grandmaster in chess who can see and very quickly recognize patterns of offense and defense as they are developing. And this is a critical ability, as you all know. So how do we get it? And so for me, where did it come from? And what it was I grew up playing a lot of beach volleyball, and so I got thousands of real-game, real-time opportunities to respond because ultimately I have to make the ball, especially in beach volleyball with 2 players, and in a time when there was no blocking, I have to make the ball come my way, to make it hit me. And I remember even by the time I was in high school, goofing around with a good buddy on the tennis team, I could already read his overhead smash. So we would just goof around on the tennis court, and he was baffled at how I always knew where he was going to hit it. At UCLA, my great coach there, Al Skates, was only half kidding, or is only half kidding, when he says we ran a 6-2 offense and a 5-1 defense. 5 guys go stand where they're supposed to, and Karch goes where the ball goes. But that is a result of playing a lot of thousands and thousands of live reps. So what we are looking to do as coaches is how do we speed that process up, speed that learning process so that it doesn't take 10,000 hours, you've heard that theory I'm sure before, or 10,000 reps, or how do we make that happen more quickly? Of course, a lot of focus in our gym, and probably in yours too, is mechanics. And it hasn't been as much on reading ability. But if you had a preference, for me, that's a question to ask yourself, and it's certainly one I've asked myself. Would I rather have players, athletes, with near perfect mechanics and average reading ability, or with near perfect reading ability and average mechanics? And personally, I would much rather have the reading ability. The mechanics we can always work on, but the ability to know what's going to happen before it actually happens or right after it happens is a huge advantage. In addition, we have to ask ourselves, what percentage of our time in our gym is spent on mechanics versus reading? That's a good question to ask also. Maybe we need to spend more time on the reading aspect of the game and a little less on the mechanics of the game if, in fact, your priority is to try to develop reading ability. So there are a whole series of studies out on perceptual expertise, and some of them indicate, or many of them indicate, that there are some myths with great reading ability and some realities. And one of the myths is that great readers of the game have superior visual systems, that they see better, that maybe they have 2010 vision or 2015 vision, while the rest of us do not. When in reality, their eyes are just about the same as everybody else's, but they know what to look at and when to look and where to look. Another myth is that generally people buy into sometimes is that it's genetically determined, that we're born with this ability. But no, I believe that all of these reading abilities that people have, whether it's like a Wayne Gretzky in hockey or a Larry Bird in basketball, who are never lighting the world on fire with their explosiveness, but they always knew what was going to happen before everybody else, is a learned skill. And so here are some of the realities. Experts at reading recognize and recall structured patterns. And I just mentioned Wayne Gretzky. I remember reading an article not too long ago about his reading ability, about how many thousands of hours of spontaneous or unstructured play that he got. And one good quote from a hockey goalie was, when Gretzky was coming at him, racing down the ice with the puck, was, oh my God, what does he see that I cannot see? And that's exactly what it is. I like to think of it, for me, as this is I have this visual encyclopedia, or this visual file cabinet, and I recognize a certain pattern, and that immediately I can flip through in my mind and know, and all great readers of the game can know, okay, now I've been able to reduce the possibilities down as to what's going to happen here. And it helps us, of course, recognize the developing play much earlier. I'm guessing that you've all had the experience, maybe often, you probably have it just about every day, of seeing it way before your athletes do. And you're probably sitting on the sideline or standing on the sideline yelling, tip, 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 tip. I think one time I've called it dump from the sideline in a USA match. I called it 6 times before it happened. And one of our players on the bench said, Karch, you need to say it a 7th time, we might pick it up. Of course, we didn't pick that one up. Anyway, great readers of the game anticipate using advanced visual cues, and that's where you coaches have seen the game a lot. I've seen the game a lot, and we know when something's going to happen. We know actually before it will happen. A hitter drops her elbow or jumps with her hand outstretched in the air. That's telling us that it's a tip. We also use, great readers of the game, efficient search strategies. They sift through and look at the right things more often. So most athletes watch the ball a lot, and they take short looks to different areas. I feel like a lot of volleyball athletes are watching the game through a pair of telescopes, or even better, through a couple of cardboard paper towel tubes. And when they watch the ball with such a narrow focus, they don't actually get to see the cues that are going to tell them what is going to happen, what an attacker is going to do, because their focus is so narrow. I think they need to have a little wider focus to be able to take in a hitter's hips, to take in a hitter's shoulder, a hitter's elbow, a hitter's hand, the tension in the hitter's body. That doesn't mean that I have to not see the ball at all. I can actually be looking at the ball, but with a wider focus to take in some of those things. There's a good example on the internet going around these days, actually, from one of the best soccer players in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo, and they actually put some gear on him. That'll be one of the links we'll try to send you when the email for this goes out, but it's on YouTube, and they attached devices to him to track where his eyes are tracking. And he spends very little time looking at the ball as he is approaching a defender who's trying to take the ball away from him. He's looking at the hips of that defender to tell which direction he might be able to blow by that defender. He's looking at the defender's eyes. He's looking at open space to either side of that athlete. Younger athletes, less experienced, less proficient readers, are going to look at the wrong things more. They're going to watch the ball. They're going to, in volleyball, they watch the ball. In soccer, you're going to see them with their head pointed straight down at the ground, and they're not going to see all the other things, all the other important cues that there are developing all around them. In addition, experts don't always need to see the whole thing. They can extract essential information with just a couple of bits. They don't need all the pieces. And they have superior knowledge of situational probabilities. I like to think of it as that every 1/10 of a second, there is a pattern developing. And early in the play, as the serve's going over the net, anything is possible. But within a second or two, now the possibilities are going down. It's a process of subtraction, not addition. And every 1/10 of a second, I can rule out as a defender, as a blocker, certain possibilities. Oh, now as the ball and hitter are about to meet in the air, I can rule out the fact that this attacker could hit line based on what I'm seeing. Now I can rule it down, and by the time contact comes between an attacker and a volleyball or a set in the air, it's down to 1 or 2 possibilities, and I can situate myself best for those those 2 possibilities and make the ball hit me more, make the ball come to me. So that visual encyclopedia, I think of it as kind of a baseline. We have to have, as defenders, a baseline of what most attackers do when they're going to swing away. There's a consistent pattern that develops, and I need to quickly recognize that pattern, and I can do so before actual contact is made. There's also a baseline. I call it hinky, and this comes from an article that I read many years ago from, it was about border agents in the San Diego area, and they're watching cars go by. And when they first sign up for the job, they have no clue. But by about the 8th, 9th, 10,000th car that goes by, they now have a sense. They can't even tell you what it is, but something in the car is hinky. They start recognizing the patterns, even though they can't describe them with words. And that's when they start getting the sense of when to pull a car over and do a further investigation of somebody trying to sneak contraband or something across the border. Well, it's the same for most hitters. Most hitters, even the very best, at some point get hinky. If they're going to drop a tip or hit a roll shot, very few are so good that they don't give it away early. Just even watching the match last week between Nebraska and Penn State to open up the Big Ten season, there were All-American hitters who give things away so early that it just screams out to me, roll shot or tip, far before contact is made. And we have to help our athletes be able to see that more. So we got to figure out where should I be looking, what should I be seeing. As I talked about already, it needs to be a focus that is much wider than just the ball. I need to get those cues from a hitter if I'm defending and have a wider focus than a lot of athletes have. So one of the strategies that I'm aware of and have used myself is I've had some nice discussions with Tom Black and Ron Larson on that, is just to demonstrate as a coach or you or one of your staff to your athletes and use short keywords or questions to help them understand what start getting those patterns and start building a filing system in their encyclopedia. So here's some goofy pictures. And one of them is, this first one is of me with elbow back. So this would not be hinky, of course. This would be something where a hitter might be, if I were in the air, I'd be more in a position to try to take a good hard cut at the ball. You could also say shoulder back. You could also say that the hand's in a certain position. So maybe you're demonstrating that to an athlete, and you might say hitter shoulder, or hitter elbow, or hitter hand. What's it doing, or what is he going to do, or what is she going to do now? It's kind of a quiz thing to show certain patterns. This is something that we see all the time in younger athletes in high school and club, and certainly in college a lot. As people go up to swing at the ball, they jump like this with their elbow high, or with their hand high, or with their shoulder high like that. That is the dead giveaway for a tip. So hopefully a defender or a blocker will be able to recognize this and answer the question that you pose to them. What is this hitter going to do? Well, of course, that hitter is going to tip. Here's the goofiest shot of all of them, is with an elbow low or with the shoulder. So now my hips are more toward the camera. My shoulders are rotated back less. There are all kinds of, sorry, there was something came up on my screen. Okay. There are all kinds of cues here that tell you as a defender that things aren't going to be a hard-driven ball and I should be crashing the middle of the court. I'm getting an indication on my screen. Kaylee, the connection to the server has been lost, so please let me know if there's a problem, but I will continue. The next one.
Arch, are you past the elbow high?
I am past the elbow high. I'm on to elbow low. Do we need to?
I'm going to go ahead and take rolls back and then pass them back to you.
Great.
So that we can make sure your connection is back. So 1 second here. Okay, if you want to go ahead and click show my screen again.
Okay. I need to click show my screen. I don't see that anywhere. Do you have? Can you see my screen now? Back to elbow high?
No. Do you see up in your control panel the blue play button? Can you click that?
Yes. I'm playing. How are we now?
Still not seeing it. Let me try again here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to pass it back to you.
All right.
Something should pop up saying.
Okay. I think we have it now.
There we go.
Good?
Okay.
Okay, we were at elbow high.
Okay, now we're on elbow low. Perfect.
Okay, you got it, elbow low. All right, so I was talking about some of the giveaways there. My hips are facing you, not nearly so rotated back. Shoulders are not nearly so rotated back. I didn't get my elbow up and back or my shoulder up and back. My left arm isn't pointed up at the ball. I'm not getting any left arm action there. I got a goofy smile on my face. They're all giveaways as to my intentions. And so this is a good thing for you and your staff to, or any of your staff, to quiz your players on, to start developing that visual encyclopedia of what athletes are going to do when they jump to hit. And then maybe I'm falling backwards, so who knows on this one. You can, again, quiz athletes or show them things that they're going to see up in the air. This is one I tried to pull off. It's not very clear, but you might be able to see it. What I tried to do was pull it off some of our actual scouting footage. There is an opposite for Germany who has a decent roll shot. It gives our athletes a lot of problems. For me, it jumps out like a sore thumb. And if you're looking on the left, I don't know if my cursor shows up, but on the left, she's preparing the roll shot. Her elbow is significantly higher, and this is shot at about the same time. You can see her whole body has less tension in there. Her hand isn't as back. Her shoulders aren't rotated back nearly as much. If you look on the right picture, her elbow is much further back. The hand is back, and it's going to whip around behind her head. So that's a freeze at the exact same time between in the sequence. One is a roll shot, and one is a real hit. So that was strategy number one, demonstrating and using some keywords and quizzing your athletes. Another one is to, as I just showed you, to take time slices, and you can do this, maybe every few frames. You might have a high-speed still shot camera where you can take some athletes and you can show your defenders and your blockers slices, which I'm about to do for you here. Or you can take it, as I did there, from your scouting tape, your end zone tape, and you can use a snipping tool in Windows 7 like I did, or any other screen capture, or you can take it from a slow-mo video camera, and we have been using one, this Casio, that is actually amazing. So I'll be able to show you some of that in a second too, hopefully.